the Octagon, the ultimate proving ground for the ultimate in combat, the ultimate fighting championship. All the talk, all the hype gets left outside the gates as 8 of the world's toughest martial artists unleash their bare-knuckle fury in the UFC's 11th tournament, the Proving Ground. Tonight, it's the return of the Tank. That's right, David Tank Abbott is back from suspension, and he's built up a 7-month head of steam and mean. And the man he's gunning for, undefeated UFC 10 champion, Mark the Hammer Coleman, an Olympic wrestler with the soul of a street fighter. He took out both Big Daddy Goodrich and Don the Predator Fry in a single night to win the championship. So get ready, because it's Tank with the right hand and the Hammer with the upper hand. Plus, 6 tough, experienced challengers, 8 fighters, 7 fights, but only 1 belt. And there's only one way to get it, with the toughest tournament in sports. The Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC 11, the Proving Ground, where seeing is believing. Are you ready? Let's open up the gates. Augusta, Georgia, on the banks of the Savannah River, a city rich in history, charm, and tradition, echoing with the sweet sounds of gospel and the birthplace of soul. The city maintains a mellow southern way of life and boasts a world-class medical center, home of the hallowed Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters. Georgia's second largest city also means cotton, the Cotton Exchange, at one time the second largest inland cotton market in the world. And we welcome you live to the Augusta-Richmond County Civic Center, the site of the U.S. Olympic box office this past April. And tonight, the host venue for another kind of fight game, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to UFC 11, the ultimate in hand-to-hand combat. Tonight's event is called the Proving Ground, as 8 fighters try to pass muster. We've got 5 veterans and 3 newcomers. The field is headlined by Mark Coleman, the champion in UFC 10. He ran the table. He went 3-0. He has already proved himself in the Octagon. Meanwhile, Tank Abbott has something to prove. He's been close before. He was a finalist in UFC 6, a semifinalist in the Ultimate, but he comes off 7 months of suspension due to the brawl in Bayamon, and it happened outside of the Octagon. So welcome to the ultimate of sweat and sacrifice, the Proving Ground, UFC 11. Time to find out a little bit more about our 2 headliners, and for that we go to 2 of my broadcast partners. We begin with Jeff Blatnick, who in 1984 was the Olympic gold medalist in the super heavyweight division in Greco-Roman wrestling. Jeff?
Well, thank you, Bruce. And I'm here with Mark Coleman. Mark, you were a rookie last time, and you did what very few people have ever done. You took the title in your first outing in the Octagon. Tell me, first of all, 1, what did you gain by the experience? And 2, will we see a difference in your style tonight?
Well, I gained a lot of confidence from that, and I would look for more of the same. I'm not going to change anything.
Well, you're no longer an unknown quantity. They knew you were a championship wrestler, but they didn't know how good a fighter you would be, how much skills you possess outside of grappling. Do you think now you're a marked man? Do you think now that they've gotten a chance to see you, it's going to be more difficult for you?
Yeah, I anticipate these guys coming after me. Everybody always shoots for the champion.
You've also told me that you still want to be a world champion wrestler. You do not want to give up the sport of wrestling. Does the UFC help you in your training for wrestling?
Yeah, I think the 2 go hand in hand. UFC has put the fire back in my eye to train like a champion, and I'll be back on the world trials either this year or next year. All depends.
Well, there's a man here, his name is Tank Abbott, and many people feel that you're going to meet him in the finals. Tell me, first of all, what do you think of Tank Abbott as a fighter, and how would you approach the fight with Tank Abbott?
Tank's a big man, so it makes him a little dangerous, but I don't think he has the skills to hang with me on the mat, so I'll take him out just like anybody else.
Well, Mark, we want to wish you the very best of luck. And let's go to Don the Dragon Wilson, world champion kickboxer, and he is in the locker room with Tank Abbott.
Go, Coleman, go.
Thank you, Jeff. Tank, we haven't seen you fight since the Ultimate in December, but you seem to have a different attitude coming into this fight as far as strategy and philosophy. What are your thoughts going into the Ultimate Fight Championship 11?
I'm just coming here to do a job. That's all I'm here to do, and you'll see what happens.
You're billing yourself this time as the street fighter. Does that mean we can expect a change in strategy this time?
No, it's just more aptly put. I am a street fighter, not some made-up name like pit fighting that other people came up with.
Now, Sam Adkins is a former pro boxer, so a lot of people are expecting this to be a slugfest. Are you prepared to go toe-to-toe with them as far as the hands go?
I don't think so.
The obvious question, finally, is Mark Coleman, master grappler. Will you try to pit your strength, power, and striking against his grappling techniques?
That's exactly what I'll do, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, I wish you a lot of luck, Tank. Good luck tonight. Back to you, Bruce.
All right, thank you very much, Dragon. The very gregarious Tank Abbott tonight. Once again tonight, the UFC features a single elimination tournament. It's the format that UFC fans know and like best. To put it in simple terms, you've got to survive 3 fights in one night to win the championship. In quarterfinal number 1, UFC 10 champion Mark Coleman begins his quest for back-to-back titles against Julian Sanchez, a veteran of Mexican challenge matches. Then Greco-Roman wrestling, Reza Nasri of Iran makes his UFC debut against Brian Johnston, the kickboxer who lost to Don Fry in the semis of UFC 10. David Lee Abbott, the Tank, bounces back from his suspension and guns for glory against the experienced Sam Adkins, who never runs from trouble. And we complete the quarterfinals with another in the long line of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stylist Fabio Gurgel, who takes on Lions Den fighter and potential sleeper Jerry Bolander. No biting, no eye gouging, no fish hooking. The referee has the authority to restart the bout if there is a lack of action. No rounds, but a 15-minute time limit with no OT in the quarters, a 15-minute time limit with 1 3-minute overtime in the semis, a 20-minute time limit with 1 3-minute overtime in the final. Here are the ways to win a fight: by knockout, by submission, if the corner throws in a towel, if the referee stops the contest because a fighter cannot intelligently defend himself, by disqualification, or if time expires, 3 judges render a decision. The 3 judges working tonight's UFC will vote based on the following criteria: strikes, grappling, and aggressiveness. The judges are Curtis Shearer, the 2-time national champion of both freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling, the 1992 World Masters freestyle champion, a 3-time World Masters champion in Sambo. Steve Neclia, a former Marine Corps boxer, a columnist for a major martial arts magazine, now living in San Diego, California, a black belt in Tung Soo Do. And Ernest Hart Jr., a 4-time kickboxing champion, trainer of St. Louis Cardinals shortstop Ozzie Smith. The referee, Big John McCarthy, who by trade is an LA police officer, but tonight is the enforcer in the octagon. He's done 100 no-rules fights. The chief medical advisor is Dr. Richard Istrigo, the team physician for USA Boxing and the medical director of the New York Golden Gloves. The cut man is Leon Tabbs, who's been in and around the fight game for 30 years. He's worked with Evander Holyfield, Simon Brown, Bone Crusher Smith, and many others. The sanctioning body of the UFC is the UFA, the Ultimate Fighting Alliance. Its commissioner, Art Davie, a former Golden Gloves competitor and sergeant in the Marine Corps. So here in Augusta, Georgia, we are set for our first quarterfinal match of UFC 11. It's defending champion Mark Coleman against Julian Sanchez of San Antonio, Texas, who makes his debut in the octagon. Now the tail of the tape for this opening quarterfinal bout. Coleman's disciplined freestyle wrestling. Julian Sanchez is A6. As far as age is concerned, Coleman 8 years older. Height, 2-inch advantage for Sanchez. Coleman, bigger this time, comes in at 250, up 5 pounds. Sanchez at 300. It's Columbus, Ohio for Coleman. He also trains in Phoenix. Julian Sanchez from San Antonio, Texas. And here comes our first competitor of the night, headed to the octagon. It is Julian Sanchez. 27-2 in bare knuckle challenge matches. A veteran of Mexican challenge matches. But this is his first sanctioned pro match.
Sanchez is disciplined, mainly performs arm locks and submission locks. He really doesn't have a wrestling background. He has some bare knuckle competition. I would describe him, just looking at him, as he doesn't look like he's trained very long, but we'll find out.
Julian Sanchez shares with us his thoughts on his first round match.
Mark Coleman es un peleador bien fuerte, bien rápido, y quiero pelear con él en el piso, y quiero usar el peso mío contra el de él. Esa es la manera que la quiero ganar yo a él.
The translation is he's a great wrestler, a great sportsman, and wants to get him on the ground. Good luck. Here comes the defending champion, Mark Coleman. I think he said it best after UFC 10. This is my calling in life. The 1988 NCAA champion at Ohio State, a two-time All-America, an Olympic team member, a two-time national freestyle champion, 3-0 in the UFC. His nickname is the Hammer.
He's definitely a grappler, and I mean that with all capital letters. He's a world-class wrestler. He will shoot immediately. That's his style. He punches, he uses elbows. I might add, he also uses headbutts. I saw his last fight. He's a very powerful fighter, ground and on the feet.
Mark Coleman on being the defending champion of the UFC.
I'd say it's a little different coming into this fight. I feel a little more pressure. The stress is there, but I'm confident that I'll come out with a victory.
There's Coleman. He might be the most ferocious competitor we have ever seen in the octagon. Well, and this one looks like a mismatch on paper.
That was quite a statement. There's some other great fighters out there, Bruce, but you're right. Coleman certainly is among the very best ever to enter the octagon. And I really feel here, Sanchez wants no part of the ground, and I have a feeling he's going to be landed flat on it quickly.
Right now, for the introduction of the fighters, let's go up to the G-Man, Rich Goins from Fox Radio in Denver.
Ladies and gentlemen, SCG Sports Corporation welcomes the world to Augusta Richmond County Civic Center in Augusta, Georgia, for the greatest martial arts competition in the world. It's the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC 11. Tonight, 8 of the world's greatest fighters will walk into the octagon. 5 veterans, 3 challengers, only 1 will emerge victorious. There are no weight classes, no rounds, and no timeouts. It's the proving ground. Are you ready? Please welcome the competitors for the quarterfinal round, fighting out of San Antonio, Texas. With a bare knuckle record of 27-2, he's an advanced level practitioner in the art of ASACs, 23 years old, 6'3", 300 pounds, Julian Sanchez. And his opponent in our first bout of freestyle wrestler, 2-time Pan American and National Freestyle Champion, World Games silver medalist, 1992 Olympic team member from Columbus, Ohio, fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona, 31 years old, 6'1", 250 pounds, undefeated in the octagon, the reigning Ultimate Fighting Champion, Mark Coleman. Let's get it on.
John McCarthy, third man in the octagon. Do not blink. This one might be quick.
You ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
There we go. Let's see what Coleman's tactic is. Is he going to rush Sanchez, or will he stay on his feet until Sanchez tries some kind of a strike, or he follows one of his own punches in and then goes underneath to take the big man down?
Coleman lands a left hand, quickly shoots it, down goes Sanchez.
Oh, Sanchez is going to be in trouble here. Oh,
Coleman landing a right hand,
he's
another right
covering
hand,
his
look
own
out.
face.
Oh my.
Come on, work it. He's going to go for a choke right here.
Going for the submission. Coleman looking to end it quickly, another punch to the face.
Work out, Julio, work out, let's go.
Coleman tried, and there's the tap out. That's it.
It's the same kind of finish you see in wrestling. It's the best to expose the shoulders, lift the head, put the chin in the
Ladies and
navel,
gentlemen, the
and it really
winner,
is an effective choke.
Mark Coleman.
It took only 44 seconds. I don't think Sanchez was equipped to deal with Coleman. And Mark doing the smartest thing he could do, which was to get it done quickly and conserve his energy in a night where you have to win 3 fights.
Usually in these kind of bouts, it's pretty hard to predict what's going to happen, but I think we all called this one right on the money. Short fight.
Coleman shows 2 attributes, Jeff, very, very well. 1, he can punch. 2, he can grapple.
Well, I think the order you gave them may be backwards in terms of his strengths. He's certainly a grappler first, but you're right, his hands are dangerous, and as he continues to train Ultimate Fighting Championship style, those hands will become even more effective.
So a tap out in 44 seconds. A bevy of beauties on hand here in Augusta tonight. So you get a good look at the Augusta Richmond County Civic Center. And the enthusiasm is terrific. Mark Coleman now 4-0 in the octagon, but as I talked to Don Fry earlier today about, it is so tough, Don the Dragon, to remain undefeated in this event and fight card after card, fight after fight, tournament after tournament.
Right, there's so many different styles of fighting out there and so many different ways to lose a fight like this. It's very hard to prepare.
Here's a look at our next quarterfinal. Reza Nasri against Brian Johnson. Nasri, a Greco-Roman submission wrestler. Johnston, who you saw on UFC 10, is a kickboxer. Here's a look at the tail of the tape for this battle. There are the 2 disciplines. Johnston and Nasri, both 27 years of age. Johnston has the height advantage. In terms of weight, Johnston is up from 225 in the last fight. And Nasri, our first competitor from Iran. Johnston is from San Jose, California. Reza Nasri making his debut in the octagon. He is from Esfahan, Iran. That's 5 hours from Tehran. The 1986 Iranian champion in Greco-Roman, and claims to be the 1986 World Greco-Roman champion in Germany as well. Managed by Sandy Frank, trained by Hashim Fenatillo.
Now, Nasri is a world-class grappler, certainly very strong in the sport of wrestling. I had a chance to watch him on ground fighting, and he seems very well versed in the guard and in the mounted position. And we have never seen him before, so he's going to be unpredictable in his attacks.
So Reza Nasri talking about his strategy and style.
Goes everything with me. Wrestling, everything, punch, elbows, knees.
So Nasri is ready to go. He teaches fighting full-time to 50 students in Studio City, California. Rents a place, wants to own his own gym someday. His opponent made a nice debut in UFC 10, Brian Johnston. 12-0 in amateur kickboxing. Currently the Northern California Golden Gloves super heavyweight champion. He defeated Scott Fiedler in UFC 10. Lost to Don the Predator Fry, but put up a heck of a fight, and he looks ready and more built than ever. Managed and trained by Javier Mendez. In his corner is James Brewster Thompson. He's a full-time instructor fighting submission at the American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose. So here comes Johnston, second appearance to the octagon, and what a difference it makes. He says his style is to have a totally well-rounded package. What does that mean, Don the Dragon?
Well, even though he's well-rounded, he's mainly a striker. He's, of course, a Golden Glove champion. He studied wrestling and judo. He's undefeated as an amateur kickboxer, 12-0. He prefers, of course, to stand and fight.
Johnston getting set for battle. He talks about his first-round matchup against Nasri.
If he wants to wrestle, we're going to box. If he wants to box, we're going to box. I'm not afraid to go to the ground with him. I will. I'm going to do anything it takes to win.
Well, you have to like his confidence and his focus.
The man looks focused, and certainly when we saw him go against Don the Predator Fry in UFC 10, he opened a lot of people's eyes with his skill. He gave Fry everything he wanted. In fact, I would tend to think this table thought Fry might lose that fight.
Let's go to the G-Man, Rich Goins, for the formal introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, our second match of the evening. Please welcome the first time to the octagon, an expert in Greco-Roman submission wrestling, a second-degree technician in Wing Chun Kung Fu, 1986 Iranian and world Greco-Roman champion. He's 27 years old, 5'11", 205 pounds, fighting out of Los Angeles, California via Esfahan, Iran. Please welcome Reza Nasri. And his opponent, a kickboxer with a record of 12-0 in amateur competition. He holds a black belt in judo and is the reigning Northern California Golden Gloves super heavyweight champion. He's 1-1 in UFC competition, 27 years old, 6'4", and 235 pounds, fighting out of San Jose, California, UFC 10 veteran, Brian Johnston.
It's the USA versus Iran. And this one could be a good one.
I think this is going to be a very competitive fight. Johnston obviously wants to use his punching skills. Nasri would like to take it to the ground. Again, another classic matchup of styles.
Nasri storming across the octagon.
And he definitely is starting to shoot. He took a knee there.
Knee by Johnston. Another knee by Johnston. Up against the fence.
Johnston very powerful. Oh, and he just whips him to his back.
What a move by Johnston. And he's got him in the mounted position. Big right hand. That's it. It's over quick.
Oh, my gosh.
Stay right there. All right? Stay right there. It's all right.
Furious effort by
Ladies and
Johnston.
gentlemen, the winner, Brian Johnston.
You lay down right here, you don't move, all right?
Well, Johnston took it
Me and I apologize. You
right to
killed him, though. I'm
Nasri.
sorry about that, dude.
Even the wrestler couldn't handle the power of Johnston. He just picked him up and flung him to the ground. And with a series of headbutts and right hands.
Well, you know, Johnston had one thing that Nasri didn't have, experience in the octagon. And that counts for a lot right there. He knows what to expect. He knows what to do in there. He's been there before. This was Nasri's first time in the octagon.
That one was scary, and Big John McCarthy apologized to Nasri about not stopping it sooner. You can hear him.
Well, there was no way to really tell. Nasri never really got the guard going. I mean, when he got flung to the mat, I mean, literally, there was no technique in that at all. It was just sling him down. And he immediately mounted him. Yeah, he immediately mounted him and just, you know, drilled him in the head a few times with his own head, butting him, and then with a few right hands. Here are the headbutts, but they're on the side of the head. That's the punch that hurt him right there. That very first one was straight into the ground.
And you can see McCarthy stepping in, and he told the fighter he was a punch too late, and McCarthy, very honest, right on top of the scene always, and right now, under his own strength, Nasri is headed back to the locker room.
There it is.
It was the second punch, Don, that landed squarely. Wow.
Luckily, when you're punching on the ground, you don't have the body weight behind the punch. So it doesn't have the knockout effect. He was not unconscious, but it does do a lot of damage, and there's nothing he could do to defend himself.
You gotta wonder if Coleman saw that fight, what just went through his mind. Johnston just established himself in that fight as a very good grappler, and on top of it, a real heavy striker.
And John McCarthy talking to Dr. Richard Istrigo, also Dr. Joel Cooperman, and Leon Tabbs, who all were quickly into the octagon to attend to Nasri, who left under his own strength. Well, we continue along in the quarterfinals, and they have been fast and furious thus far. Here's the matchup. Tank Abbott against Sam Atkins. Atkins, a guy who doesn't run from trouble, and Tank Abbott, who's been out of action since the Ultimate, and you got to believe there's some built-up fury there. Abbott, I think, is the most honest of all the fighters in terms of his discipline. Street fighting. It's that simple. 31 years of age for both guys. Atkins a bit taller. Tank is 298, so he is up in weight. Abbott is from Huntington, California, and Atkins from Houston, Texas, born in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Here comes Atkins. He has been in the UFC before. He's 2-1. He's won a couple of alternate bouts, but he lost to Fry in the main draw. He is a boxer, 54-12 as an amateur. In wrestling, 83-1 with 82 pins, but he comes to fight. He's managed by himself, trained by Tony Robles. He teaches boxercise and self-defense at the Houstonian Health and Country Club.
Well, he has a boxing background, so look for his punches. His big right hand sets it up with a quick left. He's not very good on the ground. We have seen that in his performances, so he is vulnerable there. Has a bit of a wrestling background, but I don't think that's going to help him too much. He wants to keep it on the feet and try to make it a boxing match with Abbott.
So Atkins relishes the role about being an underdog tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I'm here to prove myself. I've been fighting since I was 14 years old. People underestimated me then, they underestimate me now. I'm going to surprise them. I'm taking back the title.
Sam Atkins, his nickname, the Experience. He is in for an experience tonight because waiting for 9 months is David Tank Abbott. And David Abbott wants to make a name for himself. We talked about the evening being the proving ground. Tank's got something to prove, and he knows it. Here comes the Tank. And listen to the ovation from the crowd here in Augusta. D.L. Abbott, L for Lawless. 3-2 in the UFC. UFC 6 runner-up, Ultimate semifinalist. The UFC's first ever bona fide bad guy.
Tank has listed himself this time as a street fighter. I think that's a more honest depiction of his background. He says he's done some boxing and wrestling, but nothing documented. He's a seasoned street fighter. He's a headhunter. He has questionable stamina.
How does Tank feel about his fight versus Atkins? Let's listen in.
I expect there to be a fight. That's all I know, and that's all I plan for.
Abbott has been all business in preparation for this bout. Right now for the introduction of the fighters, let's go up to Rich T-Man Goins.
Ladies and gentlemen, our third bout of the evening. First of all, please welcome, fighting out of Houston, Texas, a national Golden Gloves silver medalist with a professional record of 6-7, 5 by KO, 31 years old, 6'3", and 260 pounds. Please welcome the Experience, Sam Atkins. And his opponent, the street fighter from Huntington Beach, California. Two-time UFC veteran with a record of 3-2 in the octagon. 31 years old, 6 feet tall, 300 200 pounds. You know him, you love him, the bad boy, Tank Abbott. Abbott.
Tank is a renegade. He embraces that role. Atkins against Abbott. Not too many other similarities besides the fact that both of their last names begin with A.
And I think their styles are very similar to one another. I give the grappling edge to Tank Abbott.
Atkins cuts easily. That's something he's got to be very careful of. Tank with a takedown.
This is not where Atkins wants to be underneath Tank Abbott.
Not at all.
He couldn't ask for a worse turn of events here.
Well, if he can keep Abbott's head pinned down, Abbott doesn't have the room to really throw strikes. And I don't know if his repertoire includes knees and elbows.
Tank landing a plethora of left hands. And you can see Atkins up against the octagon with his feet.
Tank's punches are powerful, but they're looping. They're not straight right hands or left hands. And Atkins doing everything he can here just to do the right thing, and that is keep Tank close, allow no space for strikes to be thrown.
And Atkins' attribute is his right hand. He's trying to utilize that hand to punch back. But Donnie's not in a very good position to punch at.
No, he's not. He needed to stay on his feet and stay away from Tank.
This is where Atkins usually smiles at the crowd.
Well, Abbott seems to be the patient guy here. He's not rushing it. That's experience talking. You know you can't rush things.
He got through with a left hand.
Using his weight well to keep Atkins from getting up. And now he's starting to get a right hand in.
Couple of rights by Tank. Atkins trying to fight back, but he can't do much.
Well, Tank wants to push his Atkins' head into the fence so that he can't move. Once he's pinned in there, he'll start to pry himself away, and then he'll come down. Here he's prying now, trying to get a little distance, and then he'll come down with some strikes.
Well, Tank has actually won a bout by just doing what you said, just pushing the head up against the fence.
Well, I don't think we're going to see Atkins tap out from being pushed into the fence, but the position is extremely vulnerable.
I don't know, that head's getting a lot of pressure. There it goes.
It is, you're right.
There it is.
That was a left arm across the throat, too. I don't know if he was getting choked or if it was his head.
So it's a tap out by Atkins. Victory to Tank Abbott. It was 2:06. It seemed longer. And Abbott showed a great deal of maturity and patience there, Dragon.
He definitely did. You know, he's got a different attitude. We mentioned that before, and he may call me the Dragonfly, but I gotta tap him on, pat him on the back for that fight.
He is a big fella. Tank wins his first bout in his return to the octagon, managed by Dave Thomas. His corner, Tito Ortiz. And Abbott continues to show a sense of purpose. We didn't see that laughing when he had his man up against the fence. He just worked.
Well, we saw the sneer, though, when he got his arm raised. Atkins with a right hand. Abbott goes underneath, drops him on his back. And here's where he showed his maturity. He didn't rush things. He didn't flail. He worked Atkins' head into a position where he could finally put him away.
So the Tank improves to 4-2. Dragon?
Well, I tell you, Tank gets you up against that fence. He puts a lot of pressure. There's the elbow, the arm, pushing his face against the fence.
It's also
there
across
it is.
the throat. It's also across the throat, a combination there of
right. He
working.
Squeezed him between his throat and the fence. He had no place to go. He had to tap out.
And Atkins is a guy, Jeff, who likes to mix it up. He did everything he could, but he just could not amount any offense.
Unfortunately, he tried the big right hand early. And again, when you throw a punch that takes you off your balance, that's falling into a grappler's trap. That's allowing him the opportunity to go underneath and take down. And it was very simple. We saw Fry do it to Atkins once, and Abbott easily able to take Atkins down and put him away.
And there is valor in tapping out in the UFC. That's what this competition is all about. We move ahead to quarterfinal number 4. And we will see a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stylist once again. Fabio Gurgel taking on Jerry Bolander. Bolander out of Ken Shamrock's Lions Den. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Jiu-jitsu against submission fighting, which figures because he's from the Shamrock camp. Gurgel, 5 years older than Bolander, but don't let that age deceive you. Bolander is very crafty at this early age. In terms of weight, both guys 200 pounds. And once again, it's a international contest. Gurgel from Brazil, Bolander from Livermore, California. And here comes Gurgel, proudly displaying the Brazilian flag. His managers, Sergio Montero and Tom Huggins. This guy, the reigning world heavyweight jiu-jitsu champion, but only his second pro fight. He had 132 amateur fights. Trained by Alberto Trovin, who was earlier tonight in an alternate bout. And by the way, Trovin was victorious, so that might be a signal of things to come.
Well, Fabio is a classic Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist. He wants everything on the ground. He really isn't interested in throwing strikes unless it's an opportunity to open up a submission lock. He wants to bring it down there. He'll be very patient. I think this is going to be a great contrast again between two people, both very well educated in ground fighting.
Gurgel talks about his strategy for his opening UFC contest.
Good luck.
Just doing the jiu-jitsu style, just looking to take the fight to the ground and go to submission. That's my way.
There is a look at Gurgel, pro fighter with the Alliance Jiu-Jitsu School in Rio. He trained at the Gracie Academy. His style is comparable, he says, to Royce Gracie without a gi. And here comes Jerry Bolander. 1-1 in the UFC. Out of the Lions Den, managed by Bob Shamrock, trained by Ken and Frank Shamrock. He's now training full time. He was a welder at a factory for Apex Products, but then a friend showed him the UFC tapes. He went to Ken Shamrock's Lions Den 2 months later. He was in the UFC.
Jerry Bolander is a submission fighter. He's a grappler. He likes to stand and fight on his feet at first, but he uses strong submissions to finish his fights. Well conditioned. He has limited bare knuckle experience.
Jerry Bolander has got a share of confidence tonight.
I feel more confident in the fact that I've already fought here. It was a good experience fighting here, and I know what it feels like to lose now. I know what I don't want to feel again, so overall it was a good experience.
The experience of the octagon, you do not realize how important it is. G-Man Rich Goins with the formal introduction of the competitors.
Ladies and gentlemen, our fourth and final quarterfinal match of the evening. Please welcome the reigning World Heavyweight Jiu-Jitsu champion with a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's 26 years old, 6 foot and 200 pounds, from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Please give a loud American welcome to Fabio Gurgel. And his opponent, a submission fighter with a professional record of 4-1 and a veteran of UFC 8 with a record of 1-1 in the octagon. 21 years old, 5'11", 200 pounds, fighting out of Livermore, California in the Lions Den, Jerry Bolander.
Don't let those boyish looks deceive you. Bolander has been training hard. He's skilled. Gurgel, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Jeff, would you expect this to be a grappler's contest?
I believe it will be a grappler's contest.
Are you ready?
It's going to be interesting to see if Bolander has some good strikes. Fabio is capable of punching as well, but both these guys like submission. And they're going right to grappling.
There's the clinch, a quick knee by Gurgel. Gets Bolander up against the fence.
Bolander seems to like the counter roll. He likes to feel his opponents energy coming into him, redirect it, and adjust to it.
And Dragon, that was a role that you loved as a kickboxer.
Right, I was a counter fighter. I always like my opponents to come at me.
They continue to clinch against the fence. Back to the fence is Bolander.
You're wondering why you just don't wind up and throw a real hard punch to the head, and the reason is you'll break your hand. And that is why you don't see that. Those are small measured punches by Bolander trying to hit areas.
Those are proven to be the most effective in the UFC.
Bolander is hanging onto the fence to keep from going down to the ground. He does not want this Brazilian on top of him.
Good job.
Oh, up against the octagon.
Fabio trying to trip Bolander. Bolander hanging onto the fence to prevent it. Their legs interlock. Bolander using what we call a whizzer to try to bring Fabio down, and he's done it. And Bolander now finds himself in the guard.
And that's where Bolander wants to be. What about the legs, Jeff?
Right now, Fabio's in the guard. He's going to wrap the legs or try to push and shimmy Bolander's body. Bolander wants to create space so that he can try and strike from the mounted position. And look at Fabio. That's how crafty he is. He's very difficult. When you learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the object when the man mounts you is to off-balance him so he can never set the punch. And you can see how well Fabio uses his legs, hooking on the inside of Bolander's thighs, that every time Bolander tries to raise his head, he tries to flipper those hips, or as he's doing now, push Bolander away so he's too far away. Two strike. Oh!
Wow, Bolander landing. He cannot kick when the opponent is down. He cannot use...
That was a warning.
That was a warning.
That was a warning. That's going to cost him a fine. If he does it again, he's disqualified.
That's one warning. McCarthy very carefully tells the judges. A right hand landed by Churchill. If you wear the footwear, you must not kick when
Bolander is
down.
Bolander is cut from that right hand. It's high on the forehead. It shouldn't be much of a problem.
A knee that didn't really bother Churchill.
With the bare knuckle, it doesn't take much to open up a cut on the face. The tissue is very soft there.
So blood on the forehead of Bolander. Bolander landing to the midsection. Those last with you during the course of an evening.
Right, they take a lot out of you stamina-wise.
Particularly if they're hitting on the rib. Each time you breathe, you feel it.
Balance first, baby. Balance first. You're okay, balance first.
Longest match of the night thus far. And look at Bolander.
Right.
He's calm, he's composed, he's been in this position. Not here, though. He hasn't been in the
He's got his neck. He's got his neck, but he can't get the...
Keep working, keep working.
He's got a choke on there.
Bolander had to spit out the mouth guard.
Keep working on you.
He was sucking some air.
Well, now we'll see how Gurgel will go ahead and try to finish off Bolander. Very competitive fight. Action slowing down a bit here. This is all a chess game now to position your body so you can go ahead and apply the finish. Fabio with that one punch was able to open up a cut on Bolander's head.
And now Gurgel has Bolander up against the fence.
Keep it working, let's go.
But we haven't seen any punches, Dragon.
Not really. They've been grappling too much to throw a good punch. The one shot, the right hand was the only punch. It was not powerful, but it did open up a cut.
Watch for Gurgel to do what we call passing the guard. In other words, see him trying to pull his left leg out. He'll try to clear Bolander's legs and get to the side.
You're right. He tried twice, Jeff. Couldn't do it.
He's still doing it. His knee is out now. It's just a matter of whether he can slink his heel out of this.
There you go.
What a move!
It's all a chess game. If you feel overconfident and relaxed, you can get flipped on the mat.
Go high, go low.
Now Bolander is on top.
What a great move in the guard.
Keep it in the fence.
And Bolander will create distance and strike. There's a headbutt.
As soon as Fabio did that move, Bolander freed himself. That was beautiful.
He timed it. He felt that Gurgel would relax and go ahead and now try to apply submission, and he took advantage of that relaxation and reversed the Brazilian. Another headbutt.
Now here's something they may not have in Brazil, a chain link fence.
5:10 in. 15-minute time limit in the quarterfinals. No OT in the quarter. Two guys very comfortable on the mat.
This is one straight 15-minute period. There will be no overtime.
If it ends at the end of that period, we go to the judges.
And right now, this is too close to call. If anything, Bolander seems to maybe have the upper hand, but with the blood on the head, you might say Jurgel had the better striking. Then it comes down to aggressiveness, and I don't know how you determine that in this fight.
Right now, it is Bolander on top of Jurgel, and referee John McCarthy telling them both to work.
Look at how well Jurgel is just holding on to Bolander's elbow, preventing him from throwing that strike. To his credit, Bolander says, hey, you're going to hold my arms out with your arms. You got nothing blocking your head. I'm going to headbutt you.
He's working. Jerry's definitely working. He's not wasting time in there.
And he wants to stay here. He doesn't want to lose the mounted position. So you'll see him every now and then make sure that his base is strong and his balance is good before proceeding with the strikes.
A couple of quick headbutts there by Bolander, back-to-back butts. The nuances of grappling, submission fighting, Bolander, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Jurgel. Bolander trying to land some punches to the midsection and then trying to go back upstairs. And the crowd beginning to chant for Bolander. This is a USA-Brazil contest.
Well, I'll tell you, Bolander is being aggressive, but Jurgel, with all that experience in this type of combat, being in the guard and such, preventing strikes, is doing a great job of defense.
Right there.
Give Bolander credit, but right now there's really no damage being done. It's just all work and effort by Bolander.
And it's important to mention that Jurgel was unhappy with the time limit being so short. He's a guy who works his craft with more time. That was one of the things he was very upset about earlier today, Dragon.
Right, they're halfway through this match already, and Jurgel wanted this to be longer. I mean, he likes to be a patient fighter and wear his opponents out.
That is the Gracie way as well.
It is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They go until somebody wins, which means there is no time limit. They like to have the ability to work. They like the ability to bait and make people spend lots of energy in the mounted position trying to hit them.
And
then they
also
come
make
out later.
mistakes, Jeff.
Exactly. Particularly when you start to get tired. I don't think we'll see Bolander do that in this fight.
Jerry's
for 15 minutes.
Jerry's using the chain link fence to try to get a choke on him.
It's excellent to go ahead and create. It's anything you can do to gain an advantage, and if you can keep your opponent from sliding because he's bumped up against the fence, then you can use that to your advantage by just applying direct pressure to the throat in the form of a choke. It doesn't have to be a lock choke, just a pressure choke.
So the fence, the ally of Bolander now, the nemesis of Jurgel.
And there you see Jurgel almost able to go ahead and flip Bolander and reverse him. That's why the foot is hooked in between the legs of Bolander, so that when he feels he's vulnerable, he'll go ahead and elevate Bolander's hips and try to toss him to the side. We call it an elevator. Anytime you can go ahead and move your opponent's hips up and to the side, it's an elevator.
They're obviously having some effect because Fabio is dropping that elbow down to cover up after he's taken a couple of them. There it goes again.
But Bolander has been able to score to the body.
I think he's been able to keep his balance by using this fence also. He's a very innovative fighter, Jerry.
But I'm also impressed with the defensive ability of Jurgel and the poise he showed.
Absolutely.
At this point in time, I'd have to give a point edge to Bolander.
I would have to agree with you.
He's in the mounted position. He's continually staying aggressive. He's punching. He's not relaxing. You hear John McCarthy yelling, but Bolander isn't just sitting there waiting like we've seen Gracie against a bigger opponent to try to wear him down. We see him actively throwing punches.
He's constantly trying to maneuver to get a good shot off, whether it's a headbutt, an arm, to the body, a fist to the body, fist to the face.
Headbutts by Bolander.
That's a good technique.
I have been waiting for someone to do that. A knee right to the coxswain, right to the tailbone.
That's a technique he could be applying right now where there's no defense against it.
And with your hands on the fence, he can't elevate you.
Headbutt again, Bolander.
We're now starting to see some pretty good strikes scored by the American.
We're 10 minutes into this one.
And pretty good power shown here by Bolander. Good strength for 200 pounds. And there's the left hand again to the midsection.
5 minutes left.
Many people feel, hey, this isn't fighting, but this is really the true sense of fighting. So many times, it's gonna go to the ground. And here, you're seeing exactly what can happen when two people, both very experienced and skilled in this position, go at each other. You don't get big, looping, roundhouse punches hitting all the time. It's a game of creating openings, angles, and strikes. And they're both doing a good job at what their discipline is calling for. The guard on bottom, and anything you can do on top to go ahead and create that opening.
But I have to give the fight to Bolander because he is doing the striking and the attacking, and Fabio is doing the defending. He's doing a great job, but he's not applying any damage right now to Bolander.
None at all.
Just stymieing his offense.
11:15 in. There is a 15-minute time limit with no overtime in this final quarterfinal bout. And it has been the same pattern with Bolander working against Gurgel. Bolander on top.
The guard once again here being shown to be purely a defensive position. I mean, no disrespect by that comment, but it is an observation that you really don't have an offensive threat unless the top man gets off balance. The fence, Bolander able to grab it and keep from being elevated again by the Brazilian Gurgel.
Your comment is more meaningful with a 15-minute time limit.
Oh, without a doubt. When you put the time limit on it now, Bolander has the opportunity to throw everything at him and just try to stay on top. So he can win on points that way.
So Don the Dragon, Gurgel now has to make something happen, I would think.
He's got to, or he's going to lose this match.
We're over 12 minutes now.
But I think that's why the Brazilians don't like the time limits, because they know they can defend themselves from this position, but they can't necessarily win the bout.
Well, here Fabio finally has an opportunity. Let's see what Bolander will do.
If I was Bolander, I'd just let him up.
If I were Bolander, I'd just stay in the guard.
I agree.
Keep it slow right there, but here comes an opportunity. Fabio looking for a submission lock on an arm or a leg, but Bolander would have none of it. The only thing I think here that's going to get Fabio to his feet, since he chose to stay on his back during that break, is going to be John McCarthy, the referee, saying not enough action here in this guard position. And Bolander's crawling to the fence again. He wants to pin Fabio against the fence.
Coming up on 2 minutes remaining in this bout.
I'm impressed with Jerry's use of the fence. He uses it for balance. He uses it almost as an offensive tool.
It's there. It is a tool. It's just a matter of whether you use it or not.
There's another shot. And it was to the tailbone again.
Keep going, baby. You got him.
If you catch a man right there, you can make his bottom half go basically numb. You can cause it, it's almost like a burner in the shoulder where the joint will go numb.
Come on, you got it.
It won't be fun to sit tonight. Bolander again hammers to the body with the fist.
Fabio, let's go. Come on, Jerry.
McCarthy imploring Gurgel to work, to move.
To their credit, they're both doing everything they can in this position. There is really not a lot of options. It's a matter of, can you create the other man to make a mistake, force him into making a bad choice. And really, Gurgel is going to have to put it into desperation mode soon. We are nearly out of time.
And this is one of the reasons that Gurgel did not want the short time limit. Didn't feel it was a fair time limit for his style. Inside a minute to go. Same pattern. Bolander on top, Gurgel on the bottom.
This is a vulnerable position for Bolander. He wants to keep his hands near the fence. Gurgel is under both his arms. If he goes ahead and hooks the inside of his thighs with his feet, he can roll Bolander. So Bolander needs to keep, he's hanging onto the fence. I think he senses it. Now he's got one of his arms out. Now he's got a post. He's going to be able to balance to the one side. Great job by both these athletes in their disciplines.
20 seconds to go. And it doesn't look as though Gurgel will be able to make any type of move from this back position.
He's totally confident. Just sit there and just wait it out. But you can't win a fight laying on your back, just trying to hold on to the man.
Final seconds of the bout. It ends with Gurgel in the guard. And Bolander and Gurgel separated, and now it goes to the scorecard. And that was an exhausting 15 minutes. Bolander taking that huge breath as he heads back to his side. And I'll tell you, Gurgel doesn't even look winded.
I think right now he's contemplating. He's internalizing what that experience was, what he could have done, and I think I saw in his face a lot of concern to the outcome. I think he knows after that performance that he could very well lose.
I think so too. So it will come down to Curtis Shearer, Steve Neclia, and Ernest Hart Jr., the three judges, who will simply hold up the name of the fighter that they feel has won. There is no split decision.
Unofficially, I'd have to give it to Jerry.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't think there's any question that Bolander should win this.
I mean, there really could be a split decision, but there is no draw in this competition. Let's go up to the G-Man, Rich Goins, who will lead us through.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will go to a judge's decision. Our three judges at ringside. First of all, Judge Kurt Shearer, how do you score the match to Bolander? Judge Steve Neclia, how do you score the match? Bolander. And Judge Ernest Hart Jr., Bolander. The winner, Jerry Bolander.
Unanimous decision goes to Jerry Bolander. He advances to the semifinals. No disagreement here.
Oh, none at all. I mean, Bolander, once he got to the mounted position, was very active. Jurgel was once in the mounted position, and he wasn't able to do anything. And when he reversed him, got on top, stayed active the whole way, he won on all counts: grappling, striking, and aggressiveness.
Jerry Bolander gets the unanimous decision out of the Lion's Den, the Shamrock Gang.
The one hit that you could say was landed successfully, the one that cut him, was not a knockout type blow. It just popped him on the top of the head, opened up a cut. Didn't really have a lot of effect, really.
It was in the standing position, too.
There it is, right there.
Right there. Great punch by Jurgel, but he never followed it up.
No, it was very high on the head also, and the chin is the area that takes you out.
And Bolander's hands dropped, and Jurgel did not attack him. He had an opportunity, he didn't capitalize. Here is where Jurgel was trying to pass the guard, get to the mounted position, and Bolander waited for him to relax once he got there and immediately reversed him, got on top, and he would never leave the mounted position through the fight. At this point, Jurgel looking for an arm lock, submission lock, wasn't able to get it. They go right back to the guard. Great sequence there of action, but Bolander was able to maintain his aggressive posture.
So the winner is Jerry Bolander. He is into the semifinals to take on Tank Abbott. And it turned into pretty much what you expected, Jeff, a grappling contest.
Oh, without a doubt. You had two individuals out there who both love submission. And so you knew that they were both going to get into it there. And it seemed that Jurgel had the upper hand initially when they made contact. He took it, Bolander, into the fence and wanted to dominate, but he could never get on track.
So here's the proving ground brackets thus far. Mark Coleman winning in 44 seconds, tap out over Julian Sanchez. Brian Johnson, referee stops contest, 30 seconds. Tank Abbott goes 2:06 before Sam Atkins taps out. And Jerry Bolander wins the 15-minute time limit unanimous decision over Fabio Jurgel. So the final four is a good four.
Right, but this is where this event becomes an endurance event. Abbott had a very short fight. Not a lot of energy was expended. Bolander had a rough fight. And I mean, he did win decisively, but it took a lot out of him.
Here's a look at the first semifinal matchup. Mark Coleman against Brian Johnston. And this one on paper looks good. Here's the tail of the tape. Johnston is the kickboxer, Coleman the freestyle wrestler. So once again, grappler versus striker. 4 years the senior is Coleman. Johnston has the height advantage. The weight advantage goes to Coleman. It's Ohio against California.
I like this matchup. Boy, Johnston looked great in that first fight. And he was somebody that gave Fry a great fight in UFC 10. I see it to be a good fight here again.
Here comes
Coleman is going to get tested.
Brian Johnston was a training partner for Paul Varlins, accompanied him to UFC 6. Almost took a match once for Oleg Tokarov against him. He played high school football. He wrestled from age 12 to 22. Then he took up judo. Then he became a pro kickboxer. Johnston working with trainer James Brewster Thompson. Also worked with Mike Swain, this year's Olympic judo coach. So he has seeked out a lot of quality people to improve. And Javier Mendez is now his manager trainer. So Brian Johnston, who showed a wave of fury in his victory over Reza Nasri, now meets his biggest test.
He took a good wrestler and flung him through the air and bounced him on the mat on his back.
But remember, he lost to Don Fry, so he's been in there with talent.
Oh yeah, both his matches thus far have been against two very experienced grapplers, and he's 1-1.
Here comes the defending champion, Mark Coleman, 4-0 in the octagon. Managed and trained by Richard Hamilton, who has brought about the last 3 UFC champions. Silver medalist in the World Games, 2-time Pan Am Games gold medalist. He has wrestled his whole life.
And he's real good at it.
Well, I tell you, in this UFC, he has been throwing a lot of punches, but I think he'd be ill-advised to duke it out with the Golden Glove champion. He may get caught on the chin, and when you're caught on the chin, all the wrestling experience in the world won't help you.
His dad was a wrestler. He started wrestling in the 6th grade, and there's his folks. His dad, a pretty good wrestler in his own right. That's Don and Connie. His girlfriend, Kelly, is octagon side. Rich Gene Mangoins with the introduction of this semifinal match.
Augusta, Georgia in the world, we have a great matchup in our first semifinal match. Our first fighter won in 30 seconds of his first match, a kickboxer, 12-0 in amateur competition, the reigning Northern California Golden Gloves super heavyweight champion, 2-1 now in UFC competition, 6'4" and 235 pounds from San Jose, California, Brian Johnston. And his opponent, a winner in 44 seconds of his first match, 2-time Pan American and National Freestyle Champion, 92 Olympic team member from Columbus, Ohio and Phoenix, Arizona, the reigning Ultimate Fighting Champion, 4-0 in the octagon now, Mark Coleman.
So the Coleman gang looks on. Coleman and Johnston, 2 Americans. Big John McCarthy will start it.
You ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
Semifinals, 15-minute time limit, 1 3-minute overtime.
I like the way Johnston is crouching. I always believe a striker should get down low. Don't stand up high. Just gives a wrestler, a grappler, a good target to get your legs.
Johnson faked the right hand. There's a kick by Johnston.
Leg kicks, jabs, stay away from the grappler. That's the strategy he should be using. Crouching down like that. Use your arms to push.
Come on, I want to see something.
I don't think Coleman liked that leg kick. He didn't like that one either. Now let me tell you something. This is an amateur kickboxer with only 12 bouts. But even those kind of leg kicks are enough to make you think.
Coleman very patient here.
You see what he just did? When that left leg went back, that's what a kickboxer does when his leg is hurt. Here comes Coleman. Now it's Coleman's game.
And boy, that was a fast double. As soon as he flicked that punch out, Coleman was underneath it.
He saw the leg.
In the prime of his wrestling career in terms of age. He didn't make the Olympic team this year after making it in '92, but he's one elite grappler here in the United States. And in his training area, Phoenix, Arizona, he's got the Sunkist Kids, which is one of the greatest, if not the best, wrestling club in the country.
So Coleman with a short right hand to the head of Brian Johnston. And you're right, Jeff, as soon as he saw that last leg kick, He had respected enough, Dragon, so he went for the quick takedown.
Right. I knew he would be ill-advised to stay on his feet. Every second on his feet is a second for Johnston.
Coleman finished 6th in the Olympic trials. He beat Mark Kern. He lost to Dan Shade.
And he's got Johnston now up against the fence. This seems to be a new tactic here in UFC 11. Everybody's pushing their opponent into the fence once down on the ground. Keeps them from sliding. Once you create distance, then you have opportunities.
There's a right hand, another right hand by Coleman. He doubles up on the right.
Oh, he doesn't want to turn his back. That's going to be it.
That is all. Coleman, his celebration is on. And McCarthy quickly stopped it when he turned his back.
Oh, yeah, you don't know what Johnston's thinking there. There's an element of over-celebrating.
Coleman wins in 2:20. I was surprised that Johnston made that move.
It just seemed that, once Coleman got him down on the ground, Coleman being that excellent wrestler, grappler, able to finish it out.
So the ref stops the contest in 2:20. And I don't know, Dragon, it didn't look like Johnston wanted to fight after Coleman made a big domination early, and Coleman has run swiftly into the locker room area. Jeff Blatnick had pursued Coleman, but he's so wound up, Dragon, he just blew into the locker room.
Once he got him on the ground, it was all Coleman. But I did see a couple of good moves by this amateur boxer that did a pretty good job.
And this is not an easy contest for a mom to endure. But that is what Connie is doing right now.
My mom used to run out of the auditoriums. And I was winning.
Coleman ran right out. Coleman ran right out and went ahead and...
So Brian Johnston, I'm not sure what happened, but after that furious start, Dragon, with the kicks, once he got on the ground, you're right, it just didn't look like he thought he could win.
No, from this position on, he really is just going by instinct. I don't think he really knows how to competently defend himself from down there. And as we saw before, Coleman will throw punches while on the ground. Headbutts, elbows, punches. Here you can see Johnston's totally defenseless down there. Here's the cardinal mistake, to turn over on your stomach.
There's the celebration. Wow. He's got the adrenaline working. So Coleman, in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, advances to the final over Brian Johnston. Coleman looking for back-to-back titles. And he is just a tough customer if you allow him to take the offensive.
Well, Coleman's a kind of an unusual wrestler in the fact that once he gets you on the ground, he doesn't necessarily go directly to submission. He goes right to strikes.
Some of the enthusiastic supporters here in Augusta, Georgia, at the Augusta-Richmond County Civic Center. This is the site of the 1996 Olympic box-offs. And tonight, the fighting of a different sort continues. They talk about Tyson all the time when they talk about the UFC. Fans want to know how he would do in this format. Tank Abbott receiving that huge ovation earlier. And the fans are waiting for Tank again, and we're not sure about Jerry Bolander's health. So that is what the delay is. And if for some reason Bolander can't continue, we would go with an alternate who won earlier tonight. Scott Ferrozzo won over Sam Fulton, and Alberto Trovin was victorious over David Berry Jr. And in the UFC, if a fighter can't continue, an alternate would be summoned to take his place in whatever round that would occur. Remember, Steve Jenham in UFC 3 came off the bench. He won the championship by winning one match. So that is the way the UFC unfolds in this tournament setting.
Well, you know, Jerry Bolander burnt a lot of energy in his first bout. Tank didn't, so it would be a good strategy for Bolander, regardless of what's really going on in his locker room, to take his time coming out.
I really think that's probably what it is. And in a way, I don't blame Bolander. Certainly, I thought Johnston and Coleman would be much more competitive, but Johnston has nothing on the ground, and Coleman took full advantage of that. So he really got very little break here coming into this semifinal. And I think he's just pulling what we call the old stall tactic.
And you know what? I don't blame him.
That's what I say.
You got to come in to fight the Tank. You want to have all your faculties about you.
Absolutely. I mean, speed and conditioning is one of the advantages Jerry has against Tank. As far as power and strength, we know Tank's a dominant fighter when it comes to that.
I just got a rumor here that it might be Ferozzo. It is going to be Ferozzo against replacing Bolander and taking on Tank Abbott.
All right, so Ferozzo, who won earlier tonight in 1:45, he's got UFC experience in the main draw. He lost in his opening round match in UFC 8. So Ferozzo will replace Bolander. And I don't know if it was fatigue or if that cut was nasty on his head, but he's a tough competitor. I wouldn't expect him to bow out unless there was a good reason.
Well, I wouldn't expect Jerry to bow out either. I mean, he had a great fight there against the Brazilian. He did everything he wanted to do. He did take a shot to the head, but maybe there was, you know, another injury that once he started to cool down surfaced, and certainly fatigue has to be a factor.
Absolutely.
So here is the bracket right now. Coleman awaits the winner of Abbott and Ferozzo. Ferozzo replaced Bolander, who could not continue. He earned the opportunity to fight by winning an alternate bout earlier tonight. So Ferozzo is getting his time to get ready for battle. Ferozzo and Abbott, two guys 300 pounds or more. All right, we are set to go. We were in a fill mode there awaiting Scott Ferozzo. And he is set now because Ferozzo replaces Jerry Bolander, who could not continue due to an injury. Ferozzo and Abbott now square up in the semifinals with the winner to take on Mark Coleman. Here is the tale of the tape. Well, how do you like those two disciplines? Not your run-of-the-mill disciplines. Street fighting and pit fighting, which means both guys just want to rumble. 6 feet, 5'10". Here comes the weight. I know you'll enjoy this. Almost 600 pounds, little less than a third of a ton. Huntington, California, and Shakopee, Minnesota. Here comes Scott Ferozzo, who won earlier tonight as an alternate. His dad played football for the Minnesota Vikings. He was an All-America football player at the Division II level as a nose guard. He wrestled in high school. He threw the shot put and discus. 117-7 in high school wrestling matches. He says, I will bring this fight to the next level. He's managed and trained by Donnie Fry. His strength and conditioning coach is Becky Levi. And his trainer is also Gino DiMaria.
And he took out Sam Fulton in the alternate match to get here. And he's talking to Big John McCarthy. He's excited. He might really be feeling some destiny. He told us during the fighter interviews that he felt, even as an alternate, he would get in the finals. He said it was destiny.
Looks like he was right.
Yep, he can deadlift 700 pounds or 2 1/3 Tank Abbott's.
Well, there's no doubt there's power there, but he's bigger than the last time we saw him, and conditioning will be a factor with both these athletes.
Here comes the well-rested Tank and an entourage worthy of many boxing camps. Nicely coordinated with their outfits.
God, they even looked like they were in formation there surrounding Tank. Tank in the lead position.
His hobbies include going to bars, getting crazy, and raising hell.
Okay, there's one stat that I don't think we've listed here that Tank wanted Jeff and I to be aware of. Tank believes that if you take every UFC competitor and you take their arrest records for assault, his would top the combined total of all the combatants. Now, I don't know what kind of a record that is, but That's something that Tank said.
His first fight since his suspension from the UFC. The G-Man Rich Goins will introduce the fighters formally.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the octagon, over 650 pounds of fighting talent, our second semifinal match of the evening. Please welcome a UFC veteran with a record of 1-1 in the octagon. He specializes in the art of pit fighting from Shakopee, Minnesota, fighting out of Las Vegas. 31 years old, 5'10", 350 pounds. They call him the Pit Bull, Scott Ferozzo. And his opponent, the Street Fighter from Huntington Beach, California. Two-time UFC veteran, a record of 4-2 in the octagon, 31 years old, 6 feet, 300 pounds. You know him, you love him, Tank Abbott.
How about the irony here? In UFC 8, the main draw, David versus Goliath, Ferozzo was beaten by Bolander.
That was Ferozzo's first fight. Bolander choking him out after really Ferozzo dominated much of the fight, flinging the little man all over, pinning him up against the fence, but unable to finish.
Tonight, he replaces Bolander in the main draw. Tank lands a right quickly. Ferozzo counters back.
Looked like they were going to go toe-to-go there for a minute.
Ferozzo hammers away at the back of Tank's head.
Tank is going to work to try to take Ferozzo down.
No, there you go, sweetheart.
And this might be the first time that Ferozzo has ever been muscled around in the octagon.
You know, he's been training with Don Fry, a very experienced veteran of the octagon. Looks like they're satisfied to go toe-to-toe.
And they are going toe-to-toe.
And Ferozzo semi-throwing Tank, but Tank gets behind him and pushes him into the fence.
See if we see some foot stomping here by Tank. He's in a position he can really crush Ferozzo's toes, but he's just looking for one thing.
The right hand.
The right hand.
Ferozzo tries to kick back with that right knee.
And he's cut. Above the right eye, it's not affecting his vision at this point, but a couple more punches there might open it up wide. Tank really grounding him here, taking his time. This is a patient Tank Abbott here at UFC 11.
He seems to be taking everything a little more seriously than before.
He said he threw out a disciplined training regime, and he said he's going to rely on instinct. That's what happens in the octagon. That's what he wants out of his training.
Ferozzo tried to land that right knee, now the left hand off the fence, but Tank's got control right now.
Oh.
And they're not sharing
pleasantries.
Not at all.
A little bit of talking going on between the two of them.
There's Don Fry, the Predator. He works the corner of Ferozzo. Tank content to hang on to that fence, use it for leverage, land some punches. There's the left to the back of Ferozzo's back, which is a big back. A knee by Ferozzo. Another.
Tank's not going to be able to take too many of those. Those are definitely doing damage.
Right hand by Tank. An uppercut by Tank. Ferozzo lands. An uppercut by Ferozzo. A knee by Ferozzo.
I think those knees are doing damage to Tank. That's what made the difference. On the inside, it was the knee.
Two street fighters in the octagon.
Now, if Ferozzo was to do this knee right, he's not doing it correctly. He needs to thrust his hips, not just the leg. If he thrusts his hips, he'd go right through those ribs.
John McCarthy separates the fight.
Bleeding on Ferozzo.
So he will be checked out.
And in the exchange of strikes, I almost think Ferozzo might be leading.
Right. Those knees made the difference.
Dr. Richard Istrigo, the chief medical advisor, and Leon Tabbs quickly take care of Ferozzo. He's been cleared for battle.
You ready to go? Get over there right now. Get back the corner. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on.
Here we go.
And boy, these two are going to approach each other again with big hands. And they start.
Ferozzo landed a left. And he's dancing a little bit.
Right hand by Abbott.
Another right by Abbott.
Right there, Ferozzo should use the knees right there. He's got him, but he's got to get his hips forward. See how his hips stay back? There's no power in those knees. If he can thrust his hips forward, he can break those ribs.
Keep it working, Jack. Keep it working, Scott.
He's got a lot of body to thrust.
When I first started kickboxing, I thought the knee was equivalent to a body shot, but there's no comparison. When that knee sinks in.
Let's get out of there.
There's a toe stop by Ferozzo.
I don't know if that's a good idea. It might remind Tank that he can stop.
Oh, without a doubt. Ferozzo's doing a smart thing, though, Don. He's actually hanging on to Abbott's shorts, and that's keeping him within range of those knees.
Right, those knees can be used to the groin, they can be used to the legs. You don't have to use it for the gut. You can even use it to the head. If you can put your hand on top of his head, you can hit him with a knee.
Two big boys. Ferozzo landing a right. His cut doesn't look too bad. The blood on Abbott's back is from Ferozzo. A rapidity of right hands by Ferozzo, but not powerful.
Yeah, all small little rabbit punches, but in the eyes of a judge, that might be enough. He's striking.
The knees have been making a difference for Ferozzo right there.
And he continues to clutch onto Tank's short.
Again.
Come on, man. Let's go. Come on, Tank.
You see Tank's hand coming down. That won't stop a knee. What Tank needs to do to stop those knees is get his legs in between Ferozzo's. Once Tank gets Ferozzo low, puts his legs in between, he won't be getting knee. You see how he's standing square.
A little over 5 minutes in. Ferozzo up against the octagon fence. And he's been landing effective knees. When does Tank make a little bit of a move here?
I think, again, he's biding his time. He's trying to wait for an opening to present itself. I think if Ferozzo reaches down with both hands again to try to grab the shorts, there's nothing stopping Tank from hitting him in the head. Both his arms are committed.
Ferozzo trying to land a right uppercut. Now he chops away at the back of Abbott.
I still think Ferozzo should be using the knees. His hands don't really seem to have that much effect on Tank.
And this could end up being a war of attrition.
Tank seems to be really in a hold position. He's not really committing himself to any form of attack. And see, both hands are down. Why isn't he bringing that right hand? Like
there it goes, there it goes.
He could have done that a bunch of times.
Tank might be waiting for a break where he can try to knock out his opponent.
The hands are down again. Why isn't he bringing it up? Interesting.
It seems that Tank doesn't want to let go of the fence.
Again, short little right hand to the back of Tank's head. He's told us before that doesn't bother him.
There's a knee.
That knee will.
But that knee does not have to go high. It can go low.
He's well protected, is Abbott, in the groin area. There's a right hand. Chopping away to the side by Ferozzo. Another.
There's nothing really in those matches at all. I mean, they look good, but they're nothing.
A knee to the midsection.
The knee is the only technique that Tank has really reacted to.
And look at the toes. Tank could stop those toes, and he hasn't even begun to do it. 2-3 of those, and you're going to see Ferozzo doing the Mexican hat dance, trying to tiptoe around to avoid it.
Absolutely.
7:20 in. 15-minute time limit with 1 3-minute OT in the seventh. Tank continues to just be very patient.
We're over halfway now, 7:40. That's the regulation. There's still an overtime if neither fighter has tapped or submitted.
Well, you know, conditioning is going to be a factor. When you get guys this big, they're usually not in as good a shape as the smaller fighters.
And I wonder if that's what Tank is banking on here. Let Feroza punch himself out. But boy, those knees are effective.
I've never been a big proponent of allowing your opponent to punch or kick himself out, bouncing off your body.
Now, Feroza trying to get off the fence. There's another knee.
If he did those knees with his hips and got his hips behind him, they would be really damaging. He's just inexperienced with using the knee, but even the ones he's using are having an effect.
I know you're saying, Dragon, there's no ferocity in that right hand by Feroza, but you know, if he continues to land,
it scores.
Yeah, it's scoring and it's impressing the judges too.
Right. Well, it's hitting a target area. It's doing some damage. Not enough to stop a Tank Abbott, but it's an attempt to launch an offense, so it is scoring.
Jeff, I know you say a guy might not punch himself out, but can he knee himself out?
I don't know if he's going to knee himself out, but Tank went so far as to cross in front of Feroza and put his leg outside his just to stop the knees. He's doing it again, and that's going to limit him. If he cocks his hips that way, he's got no left hand to use, and the right hand, he's really not going to be able to bring his body or shoulder or hip forward to put anything on it.
Feroza's got a 52-pound advantage on the Tank.
And you got to watch. Oh, Abbott almost getting him there with that.
Tank went for the trip.
And Feroza showing great balance on his feet. He's not being knocked down easily.
Hey, he was a terrific nose guard, and nose guards play low to the ground. You've got to have a good center of gravity.
And Feroza not at all intimidated by the Tank.
Crowd getting a little bit restless.
I'm a little surprised that he hasn't opened it up.
Another knee to Tank's stomach. Another knee, which allowed him to get that grip around his head.
John McCarthy warning the fighters, telling them he's got 5 minutes before the first overtime. Don Fry looks on for Feroza.
Their feet are there and finally stomped his foot. And Feroza picked that foot up very quickly. He could do it a whole bunch of times.
See, he's kneeing Tank in the left leg now, the thigh area. Like I said, that knee can be used to the head, to the body, to the legs.
Feroza doing a pretty good Fred Astaire imitation.
You saw how close the feet were. And Feroza missed with a big foot stomp.
And you're right, it is a big foot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're on top of one another. They could really go ahead and hinder each other's movement.
This is not footsie, it's the UFC. And there's 4 minutes and 15 seconds left in regulation in the semifinals with the winner to take on Mark Coleman. Feroza replaced an injured Jerry Bolander in the semis.
I don't really know what Tank's strategy is.
I have no idea.
I don't know how he thinks this is where he needs to be. It seems to me he'd want to get in the center of that ring, try to land something.
Despite his disadvantageous position, Feroza is still the aggressor.
He's scoring. He's striking.
Another knee by Feroza. I don't believe Tank thinks he can throw 350 pounds.
Well, certainly not in an unskillful manner. He's not going to be able to. He needs to set him up and use it. Feroza ripping a couple of good right hands in there.
He really wound up on those, Dragon.
Right, he's in a position where he can make the contact, but he can't get his body behind it because he's pinned so tight against this fence.
And there is enough action here that John McCarthy does not have to separate the fighters.
And it's amazing that Tank won't try it. Tank hasn't tried the knee at all.
He could be countering with the knees. I don't know what he's thinking, except maybe he feels if he backs up to throw a good knee, Feroza's going to get out of this.
Under 3 minutes to go in regulation.
Feroza get out of this or Tank get out of this? Right now, I think Feroza is dominating this position.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The point I'm making is Tank seems to be the one who wants to stay here.
That's correct.
He doesn't want to get out, but he's not scoring points.
Unless Tank is waiting for overtime and then hoping he can knock out his opponent with a couple of quick punches from the standing position. McCarthy's going to separate him with still 2:30 left in regulation. So here's Tank's chance if he wants to throw big punches. Ferozzo landed a jab, Tank countered. Tank missing loudly. He's looking for the one-punch knockout.
He certainly is, and I don't know if that's due to shape. Ferozzo hitting Tank Abbott twice.
Couple of good right hands by Ferozzo. Now Tank is backed up against the fence. Ferozzo.
He said he liked the uppercut in his interview.
How the heck do they end up here again? Oh, no.
Cal doesn't like it with 1:40 to go in regulation.
Tank seems to be settling
Well,
for
we
a
had
defensive posture where there's no action. One has to question shape and certainly tactic and strategy here.
Well, I tell you, this fight comes alive when these guys get in the center of the ring. And they get here, it's pretty much dead in the water.
And I'll tell you something else. During that last exchange, Ferozzo scored more points.
Absolutely. Now we know why Tank wants to stay here.
Ferozzo might be a better puncher than Tank. A minute to go in regulation. 3-minute overtime to follow.
Tank's a pretty good grappler. I'm surprised he hasn't gone for a takedown. He can easily take Ferozzo down if you want to get to the ground.
I'll make this comment right now. Coleman is sitting pretty against the winner of this. These guys are spending a lot of energy, and these big bodies are going to take some time to have to recuperate.
I tell you, it must be good karma because Coleman had the same situation the last UFC. I watched the fights, and by the time Don got there, he was tired.
Abbott holding Ferozzo against the fence, but Ferozzo hitting Abbott with knees and rabbit punches to the back of the neck. The fight thus far has dominated by Ferozzo despite being in a poor position.
Final seconds of regulation. 10 seconds remaining. And we will go to overtime.
We'll find out Tank's strategy right now. He might have been playing possum, waiting for overtime.
He's got one big burst here where he's got to do something.
Tank is tired.
He is.
Tank is tired. He's fatigued.
You know, for me, there's never a good strategy to take these fights into overtime because you're going to have to fight another guy right after it. And of course you're going to be tired.
Leon Tabbs checks the cut on Ferozzo's face, which isn't bad.
Not over yet. Back up.
Tank Abbott is tired. If he's going to make a move, it's got to be on the feet. It's got to be in this standing situation because if they end up against the fence, it's not going to help them.
Get your guard up, man. Let's go. Come on.
Tank is up in weight.
And Ferozzo is challenging the crowd. Ferozzo is putting his arms up, and the crowd responded positively, taking away what seemed to be a real Tank-oriented crowd.
Right. You know what? One thing about audiences I've always noticed, they like the winner. They don't care if you're hometown or not. They want the winner to win.
I think they also like effort.
Yes, and they're recognizing Ferozzo for that.
Here we go. 1 3-minute overtime.
Are you ready?
It goes to the scorecards if it doesn't end in this 3-minute session. Here's Abbott's chance. Ferozzo giving him a smile.
This crowd is on their feet. We got thousands of people standing on their feet for this one.
Solid left by Tank. Good exchange by Abbott. Ferozzo might be better off going for a clinch here. Not allowing Abbott the chance for a KO.
Ferozzo throwing lots of leather.
Ferozzo with a kick. Tank responded with a right-hand counter.
And it scored. It hit him flush on the head.
That's the danger of a leg kick. If you're going to throw one, you have to hold your hands out. You can't throw with your hands down.
Tank just ate 2 punches, working his way in. Crowd doesn't want this defensive stalemate here.
And again, Ferozzo shows he's not a bad boxer for a big man with little or no experience.
The Predator, Don Fry, there coaching through the fence. He has got the best view in the house for seeing the action, and he is going to coach Ferozzo here. Tank is going to hear every word of it.
Well, if I was John McCarthy, I'd go ahead and break him because we know exactly what's going to happen if these guys stay here. There's not going to be an exchange. There's not going to be a clear-cut winner here.
And that cut is not going to bother Ferozzo if it doesn't go in the right eye. It's not a bad cut.
That might be Tank's only salvation, is to really open up that wound so that it bleeds profusely.
I don't think he's got enough time to do it, Jeff.
I don't think he has the energy to do it, Bruce. He is dead on his feet.
I think John ought to go ahead and break him, put it back in the center of the ring.
Don't let the judge decide your fate. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Scott,
A minute 15 left in the semifinals of UFC 11. The winner meets Mark Coleman. Jerry Bolander could not continue. Scott Ferozzo came off the bench, and Ferozzo trying to work his way into the championship match. A minute to go.
Tank has got to know that if he hangs on to this fence, he is not going to win this match. Get back in the center. He needs to get back in the center of the ring and make something happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, this strategy by Tank does not seem to be working for him. He should give it up, get the center of the ring.
Unless he understands that he's not going to win, and this is the least attriting position he can get to.
And unless he understands he's just got no air tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's vulnerable in the middle. He doesn't feel he has enough energy to carry himself. Here, he doesn't have to worry so much about carrying himself.
One last chance.
Here they go.
And Tank looking like a guy right there who had one too many on the street.
He looks like a man right now that has seen a better day. He's one option here. He must knock Ferozzo out.
Good punch by Ferozzo. They trade as the final seconds go off. And this bout is over. It goes to the scorecard. And I don't think there's any question that Ferozzo will get the decision.
He was the aggressor. He stayed active.
Well, you know,
he had the best strikes. There was absolutely no grappling here.
We said Tank was treating this differently. He had a strategy. He was patient. That may have worked to his disadvantage in this case.
I think it's patience born out of fatigue.
I think so too. I think it was a case of exhaustion. Sometimes you want to do stuff in boxing, and you can't. They call it on not being able to get off. I've seen some of the best fighters in the world been unable to get off.
Right.
But that's not always because you're not in shape. It's just because maybe you overtrained too much or something else. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying that Abbott could not get off.
I think those knees that he was getting hit with, Ferozzo was hitting with the knees to the body. They caused him to leave his hands down and not be able to punch.
Let's go to Goins for the decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go to a judge's decision for our second semifinal bout. Judge Kurt Shearer scores the bout to Ferozzo. Judge Steve Neclia scores the match to Ferozzo. And Ernest Hart Jr. Ferozzo, the winner of our second semifinal. Scott, the Pitbull Ferozzo.
He ought to save his energy. But it was a good performance by Ferozzo. A unanimous decision. He's recognized by the judges. Tank has to go back to the drawing board and regroup for the ultimate. Ferozzo is still fresh, if you want to say that. He's still dancing around. He better regroup for Mark Coleman if he's smart. Jeff Blatnick is standing by, waiting to talk to Ferozzo. As soon as Scott's ready and Jeff's ready, we'll check in. All right, Jeff, take it away. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Bruce. Scott, you said in the interview we had yesterday that you said it was destiny that you would make it to the finals. Did you dream that you could beat Tank Abbott?
Let me tell you something. That's all I thought about. I said I wanted to be out of the UFC as the only guy that ever whooped Tank Abbott. A man that has a reputation and hasn't fought nobody. Now he finally came up against somebody that's as big and as tough. I'm a little bit banged up. Never once did he rock me. Not once.
Well, your first entrance into the UFC, you lost to Scott Bolander. Your next entrance was here. You look like a different fighter. What has made the difference for you?
there's the man I owe it all to right there. I owe it all to that guy right there. I called him up and said, come train me, because I know I can do this. I know there ain't anybody that can beat me. I said, I need your tenacity, your training, your man right there. Come here.
Well, you're going to get tested. Well, you're going to get tested here. Your next fight is against the reigning champion, Mark Coleman. How do you see that fight going?
Same way. Same way. Same exact thing.
Well, we want to wish you the very best of luck. Congratulations to you and your coach, Don Frock. Back to you, Bruce.
So in UFC 8, Bolander beat Ferozzo, but tonight his wife can celebrate in a big way. Joanne and Scott are going to the championship. Bolander beat Ferozzo in UFC 8. Tonight Bolander is injured. Ferozzo comes in off the bench, becomes the second ever UFC fighter to be an alternate and make it to the final match. And this guy, Dragon, just will not go back and worry about regrouping. He's still celebrating.
He needs to get in the locker room, put his feet up, relax, and start taking some deep breaths.
Well, Ferozzo, yeah, Don, he's pinned up against the fence, and he took full advantage. It seemed as though once Tank did not like exchanging in the center, and he brought him into the fence.
Right, he used the knees and the uppercuts here to score on Tank and totally dominate with his back against the fence. I mean, I don't see why Tank wanted to stay there. He was not winning in that position.
It seemed that Abbott was trying to connect, but he missed with those two, and when he missed wildly, it seemed as though the frustration caused the fatigue to really take hold. Ferozzo doing a great job against Abbott.
Burning off a little more nervous energy.
Yeah, I'm not so sure he wants to be burning off any energy at this point. He does want to relax. He wants to put this out of his mind and definitely try to, lower his pulse rate, regroup, put it behind you, and not stay excited. He's got to regroup himself, and that's such an important task, but he's got the Predator in there. Certainly he's somebody with a lot of experience, successful experience. It has led to Ferozzo now being 2-0 here at UFC 11, and that might be the difference why Scott Ferozzo really now has made a name for himself.
Well, we've seen it over and over again. I mean, if you want to enter this competition, the only guys really with the experience are the ones who compete in it. They're the ones you have to go to for the knowledge, the people who are directly involved with the UFC. And it's definitely made a big improvement in Scott's performance.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, he has looked so much better than we saw him against Bolander when he was just a raging bull, pushing a much smaller man all over the octagon, but not doing it with any kind of skill or strategy, and really came up empty when this under 200-pounder choked him out. But here it was different. He met a man his own size, and despite being pushed around, had some very effective strikes.
Well, Royce Gracie proved over and over that the smaller man, if he gets the big guy around the neck, it's all over. And that's the kind of mistake Scott was making in the beginning of his UFC competition, but not tonight.
Well, you have to wonder if Tank Abbott now is a falling star. He got defeated here, what seems to be not handily, but he never seemed to be in this fight. He would exchange a few punches and then move off, and for whatever reason, settled for what I think was a very stationary position, which one, makes you a very easy target, and two, in terms of wrestling, makes you very predictable. You can only do one or two things from a still spot.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be Mark Coleman versus Scott Ferozzo in the finals. Mark is well rested. Scott, as we saw, totally burnt every bit of energy he had in his body. I think he's running on adrenaline right now. Hopefully he's in there resting up.
So there's a look at the final matchup. It'll be Mark Coleman against an alternate Scott Ferozzo.
And one has to wonder about destiny. A man that really believes it's his future that he's going to be able to get there, and Ferozzo able to come through the alternate bracket, gets plugged in at the semifinals, takes out Tank Abbott, but now he faces a master grappler. And something that Tank didn't have is the ability to take somebody right off their feet with a good shot.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have another change, and this is unbelievably unpredictable, but this is the UFC. Ferozzo is out of the championship. Alberto Trovin is in. He won his alternate bout earlier tonight against David Berry Jr. So it's Troven against Coleman in the final. Jeff?
He had a nasty gash over his right eye. I mean, a very nasty gash, and that could be one of the reasons why he's not participating here, is they feel it's going to get really bad.
All right, let's take a look at how Troven won his alternate bout earlier against David Berry Jr. And this one lasted just a minute and 33 seconds.
Well, the Brazilian got inside on Fulton, and really once he was able to get inside here, the striker never had a chance. He got tripped down to his back. This is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at its best. Get to the mounted position. It's obvious Fulton had no idea what the guard was. He did not even try to defend himself other than hold the upper body, and that's just not going to do it against an experienced ground fighter. Travern able to straighten up. He's going to start to rain blows here, and once that happens and he turns to his stomach to avoid getting punched, the biggest inexperienced mistake, there's the choke. And once you're in on a choke like that, hey, you need air to fight.
Well, he didn't use a lot of energy, so he should be in good shape.
So there's the tap out. It took a minute and 33 seconds, and that was the way Troven earned his way into the championship. Here's a look back at Mark Coleman's 2 victories. First against Julian Sanchez, Jeff.
Sanchez, big man. Coleman went right under him with a double leg takedown, put him right to his back. And once there, the big man really didn't have any choice. He was out. Coleman's already past the guard, which means he's free to keep the distance and start to rain blows. And he's covering up from the start. He's not trying to reach out and stop arms or pull Coleman down. He's just blocking those punches by putting his hands on his head. Coleman finishes him off with a headlock choke.
Dragon, then he was victorious over Brian Johnston.
Right, it looked like he was going to have a little trouble standing on his feet and duking it out with him, but then as soon as he took him to the ground, it was all his fight.
So there's the victory in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And there's Coleman's celebration.
I think that was a mental test for Mark Coleman after seeing how well Johnston did. I think that's why you saw the exuberance and the excitement out of Mark Coleman, was that he really thought he might be in a real tough fight, and he took Johnston out with his wrestling skills.
Right.
Well, there's a look into the locker room of Mark Coleman. He's got to be fresh, Dragon. He's only fought tonight for 3 minutes and 4 seconds, and he's taking on a guy who knows nothing about it. You look at the tank. He's talking about his match. He knows I don't think he had it tonight, but he'll be back for another day, including the ultimate. I don't think he's going to be particularly happy at the post-fight party, but that's the way it goes.
You know where he's going to be disappointed is when he looks at a video of this and really sees how he performed in there. And I like Tank Abbott, but in terms of his performance tonight, I give it a D-. It was bad.
Well, I give it a D- up against the rope, or up against the ring, but in the center of the ring, he does fight. He doesn't piddle around, so I give him a B in the center of the ring and a D- against the chain link fence, and that's where he spent most of his night.
All right, so we're awaiting the championship bout. We are now told Alberto Troven has a broken hand and will not fight. So we will have to see what the UFC officials do now as Mark Coleman awaits someone for the championship.
I don't think we've ever had this happen. We've run out of alternates. People have gotten hurt.
Well, they can go to an alternate who lost tonight. That is another option, Sam Fulton or David Berry Jr. We'll have to wait and see what unfolds. There's a look at Mark Coleman, and we're having to wait to hear what the official announcement is as he waves to the crowd. Mark Coleman has been declared the winner. There is nobody left for him to fight. It's that simple. Coleman wins because Alberto Troven has a broken hand. Jeff Blatnick is standing by in the octagon with our champion tonight in a bizarre finish, Mark Coleman.
Well, Mark, this is probably the most bizarre finish we've ever had at a UFC. A lot of fighters are hurt, broken hands, cuts and such. You have been declared the winner. In your second fight against Johnston, you celebrated quite emphatically after it was over. Did you feel it was going to be a tougher fight?
Quite possibly. He come in a lot bigger. He looked pretty tough, but I prevailed.
Well, Mark, the Ultimate is coming up in December. You have agreed here to fight an exhibition fight with someone here that they're trying to find to come in here with the octagon with you, but I'm sure at this point, since you're declared the winner, you're setting your sights on the Ultimate. One, do you feel that you're going to continue to get better as a fighter? And two, have you learned anything from today's action?
I'm definitely going to get better, stronger, faster, smarter, better conditioning. I want to be the best ever in this sport, and that's what I plan on doing.
Do you feel you're going to be able to do both the UFC and continue your wrestling career? You want to win a world championship. Do you think there's enough room, time, and energy in your body to do both?
Definitely. I think the training goes hand in hand, UFC and wrestling. I got the fire back in my eye. I will be competing in freestyle wrestling, so I'll be back.
It appears that Fry is going to be on the same half bracket as you will at the Ultimate. You defeated him. However, he was a very tired fighter when he met you. He was the second semifinalist. How do you look forward to a rematch with Don Fry?
I'm sure he's training real hard. I'm sure he's going to come out strong, but I'm going to come out bigger and stronger myself, and I plan on winning.
You're a two-time UFC champion now. Who do you feel is on the same level in the pools of fighters we have that can be your equal in the octagon?
I'm the best out here. That's the way I plan on keeping it. If I train hard, I'm going to stay the best.
Well, what do you think of someone like a Ken Shamrock?
Ken Shamrock's a great fighter. I would gladly fight him. I'd love to fight him. If he wants to fight, let's get it on.
Well, Mark, you did a terrific job here in your two fights. What inspires you? Why do you want to be a UFC fighter?
It's just I got a lot of pride in myself. I want to come out here and show everybody what freestyle wrestling's all about. And I do this for my freestyle buddies. That's the bottom line.
What area of the fighting style do you think you can gain the most improvement in?
I think you can learn, you can keep improving in all aspects: wrestling, boxing, kicking, all of it. I'm gonna keep working on all the aspects and just keep getting better.
Well, you're training down in Arizona. Who is it that you're training with? How are you improving your grappling and striking skills? Is there any world-class athletes that you're working with down there?
Yeah, I got Tom Erickson coming in. He's going to be getting in the fight scene. He's #2 in the United States, a very good wrestler. He prepared me well for this. My buddy Kevin Ranneman, who we might be doing an exhibition here. Wrestlers are the best. That's the bottom line.
Well, Mark, we want to wish you the best of luck. Congratulations. Your second UFC champion, Mark Coleman. Back to you, Bruce Beck.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff Blatnick. So Mark Coleman has been declared the champion. What happened tonight, Jerry Bolander got injured. Scott Ferrozzo took his place. Ferrozzo beat Tank Abbott. Unanimous decision in the semifinals. Ferrozzo unable to continue. They went to the other alternate who had won earlier tonight, Alberto Trovin. He had broken his right hand. Coleman has no one to fight in the championship, so it ends up that Mark Coleman wins UFC 11. That's it from the Augusta Richmond County Civic Center in Augusta, Georgia. I'm Bruce Beck. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.